Well, we did it. We made our first TikTok. I mean, YouTube short. YouTube short, totally. It's a totally different thing. Posted our first YouTube short yesterday, kind of a precursor to this one. Yesterday's short was about taking a profile picture. Today's short is about using that picture and turning it into an awesome profile picture. Plus, as we do more of these shorts, we're gonna kind of see how they do on a channel that posts long form content like this. I know a lot of people are like separating shorts on a different channel than the full-length content, but I haven't seen any evidence that it hurts the channel. So we're gonna perform the experiment for you. If you see us start Alpha Gaming Shorts, you'll know. But yeah, yesterday's short talked about lenses, positioning, lighting, and I mentioned that we were gonna show you how to turn this picture into this picture. Also, I'm sure you noticed I shot it on a green screen, but I didn't really explain why. This is the video where we explain why. If you've been here for a while, you know that Sam is the editor of the channel, but he's also just in general like a more talented human than I am, especially at like graphic design, video editing, drawing lines on videos. He's also the one who does all the thumbnails and the photography on the channel. So he's gonna show you how to make a super spicy profile picture. Cool.
You've all probably seen the profile picture.
Wait, Sam, we have to thank the sponsor of the video first. Come on, man, this is how we get paid. Elgato, thank you for sponsoring this video. If you guys haven't seen the new Elgato light strip, I highly recommend it for anyone looking to add some neat, sleek RGB to their setup. I did a whole video on it recently, and that video was not sponsored, and I had a lot of great things to say about it. The ease of setup, the ability to control it from your PC, smartphone, or your Stream Deck, full RGB plus super bright whites, and in my opinion, probably the most important part, the lack of flicker when it's shown on camera. We compared it with other super popular strip lights on the market, and every single one of them has significant flicker when put on camera, whereas I could not get the Elgato light strip to flicker no matter what I did. Nobody wants to see flickering RGB lights behind you. It's not pretty. So pick them up at the link down in the description below. Okay, sorry about that, Sam. Now you go.
You've all probably seen the profile pictures we'll be talking about in this video. You know, the ones with the nice, bright, colourful backgrounds that just make people pop off the screen, like the ones that MKBHD has, Roberto Blake has, and even myself have for our social media profiles. They're really, really simple, they're really, really easy to do, and today I'm going to show you guys how you can achieve that kind of look. And typically those profile pictures are made with some high quality lighting that produce an RGB colour. And you'll see lights from companies like Aperture, for example, where they will have these really bright RGB lights, and then you just aim those at a grey photography wall or any kind of wall to create a backdrop, and then you take your picture in front of it. Now, not everyone will have access to these kinds of lights, and with as cool as they are, I doubt everyone's going to go out and buy some of these lights just to get a profile picture like this. So we thought, could you create a similar looking effect without breaking the bank? And spoiler alert, you can, because you've already seen the picture. So let's just show you how you do it. The first important thing you're going to need is a green screen, or a $10 green bedsheet from Walmart, which is what Harris used for this picture. And the reason for this is so that we can cut you out of the background and replace it a lot easier. Now, I don't think I need to go out and say this publicly, but I will anyway. Make sure you're not wearing a green piece of clothing when you take a picture in front of a green screen. It will make the process a lot easier. Wear something white or black or grey, something neutral, so you can pop off of that background a lot easier. And once you know that, it's then time to take the picture. And with taking the picture, I highly recommend using your camera's raw format settings to capture as much information as possible. It will make the process a lot easier when it comes to editing later on. And then once you've taken your picture, it's then time to start editing. One thing I need to mention is throughout this video, I will be doing all of my adjustments and tweaking inside of Affinity Photo, which is a photo editing software that we recommend. For the simple fact that it is pretty inexpensive, it's normally priced at around $50, but at the time of filming this video, it's actually half price, and it's a single one-time purchase. There is no subscription fee for this software, but if you don't have Affinity Photo and you want something free, software like GIMP is a great alternative. All right. Let's edit. So to start off, we're going to be bringing our image into Affinity Photo, and it looks pretty dull right now because we took the picture in a RAW format, so we can adjust and tweak the exposure settings to get the look we want out of the camera. I'm looking for an overall balanced face. I'm not too concerned with the torso or the body because on a profile picture, you're not going to see it. Once I'm happy, I'll bake those settings in and I'll move on to the crop tool. We don't need to really edit the full image, so instead we're going to crop it down to only the area that we're interested in. So I'm going to crop it down to Harris's head and shoulders. I'm going to keep it in a 1:1 aspect ratio, which is the best for social media. Also bear in mind that most websites do actually turn a square picture into a circular one, so make sure you're leaving enough headroom to tweak the image if you need to, and you can zoom in when you upload it to those social media websites. Next, it's time to remove the green background from the image, and we do that by going over to the toolbar and selecting the flood selection tool. And I went ahead and clicked on the green area by Harris and just dragged it out to select an area of the green background. Once I did that, I then tidied up the selection just a little bit by using the selection brush tool and went over the little specks of green on the background. We then need to invert the selection, so we're going to the select menu and then click invert pixel selection. I'm not too concerned with how it looks right now because we're going to refine it by clicking on the refine button. Now your settings may look slightly different to what mine are right here, but all we're doing in this instance is you're tweaking the mask and refining it similar to what we would do in Photoshop. What I did was I tidied up the edges of Harris's hair with the matte tool, and then I used the feather brush to feather out the edges as well. I also went and tweaked with the ramp and feather settings to tighten up the mask just a little bit overall. And then once we hit apply, we are left with this. And you may notice there's still a little bit of green left in Harris's hair from where the mask didn't quite reach that part of his head. And we can easily fix this by going to our adjustment layers and adding in a HSL adjustment layer. HSL stands for hue, saturation and lightness, and what we're going to do here is open it up and select the green value for the hue. Once we do that, we can then bring down the saturation, and as you can see, the green disappears from Harris's hair. And once we've done that, we just need to make sure that this adjustment layer is only affecting Harris. So we click and we drag and move the adjustment layer into the thumbnail part of the Harris layer. Once we let go, it creates a clipping mask, and that adjustment layer will only affect Harris's layer. Now that we have that done, let's add in our background layer. I went over to the rectangle tool and I clicked and dragged and made a shape layer across the entire canvas. We'll put this behind Harris and give it a color that helps make it pop. I decided to go for a nice, bright, vibrant yellow for this one. At this point in time, it's also probably a smart idea to name your layers so things don't get confusing later on down the line. If this light behind Harris was a real yellow light, what would happen naturally was that the middle of the wall would be the brightest part of that light, and as it got further and further away, closer to the edge of the screen, it would get darker and darker and darker. So we're going to recreate that by using the gradient tool inside of Affinity Photo. By pressing G on the keyboard, what I'm going to do is change the fill mode to a radial gradient, and then what I do is click and drag out from the center of the rectangle out to the edge of the screen, and make sure that the color in the middle of the rectangle is as bright white as I can make it, and the outer color is a darker shade of that color. And as I do this, I will tweak the colors and get things looking just exactly as I want them to look. The next thing I like to do is make a copy of the Harris layer by right clicking and choosing duplicate layer, and then I turn off the original, and in this new copy what I like to do is right click and then choose rasterize and trim. What that will do is it will basically cut off all the extra excess of the image that we don't need to see and just keep it focused on the parts we do need. And I do this on a duplicated version of the layer just in case I need to go back and tweak things on the original layer. I always have a backup just in case. On the trimmed layer, what I like to do is actually add some effects by clicking on the effects button right here, adding in a drop shadow and changing that blend mode to overlay to make it feel like there's some fall off behind Harris and he's standing in front of a wall. I then like to add in an outer and an inner glow to make it feel like there's a light emitting from behind Harris and creating some kind of halo effect and wrapping around his image. For this bit, it's really down to personal preference, what you like, what you dislike, what you feel will help you pop from the background a lot more. And then with all those details added, it's time to finally add the polishing touches. What I did was added a curves adjustment to the overall layer stack and then give it a nice soft S-curve to really make those colors pop and really add contrast to the darks and to the lights. And the final two secret touches that I added to this image was a high pass filter, and I then also added a depth of field filter. A high pass filter will allow all those details in Harris's beard and the details in his eyes and his face really pop out from the screen and really blend the background and the foreground together a lot better. And then to completely wrap everything up, I added a depth of field filter when by ticking the preserve alpha checkbox, I was able to create a really nice soft depth of field look that captured everything together. That did one or two things for us. For one, it made the image look a lot more natural, and number two, it hid those imperfections in the mask and in the hair and on the edges of the skin and on the clothes and really kind of brought the image together. And there you go, you now have a pretty solid looking profile picture that you can also tweak a little bit more afterwards. Say for example you want to change the background colors behind you, all you need to do is add another HSL adjustment to that background layer and adjust the hue to find a different color that you like. It's completely flexible and it's super dynamic to try and find different colors that you like the look of. And there you go guys, a really simple and professional looking profile picture that doesn't break the bank. But aside from that, if you guys have any questions about this technique or about the things I mentioned in this video, then feel free to jump into my Twitch chat. I'm live every single Tuesday and Thursday and Sunday. The link to my channel is down in the description down below. And if you guys want more tutorials on Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, maybe some motion graphics and designing your own stream stuff, link to my YouTube channel down below as well. And as always, happy streaming. If you all say Brussels sprouts are bad, guess what else I say? You know what I say? Peanut butter, overrated. Yeah. You don't like it, do you? You don't like it when I come for your peanut butter